It is 5:30. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Meister,
Present.
Councilmember Beltran,
Present.
Councilmember Wyrock,
Present.
Vice Mayor Carrillo,
Present.
Mayor Flores.
Present. We'll now go into oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the City Council on any matter scheduled for closed session. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Council. My name is David. I'm with California Medical Imaging. How you doing tonight? I appreciate you hearing me out here. I have a quick concern. We have just started our 3D mammography program. So women in Porterville now have an option other than Sierra View and waiting a couple months to go get their mammogram. The background here is a mammogram is a lot of data. So it takes a lot of time to send the 3D images to our servers. The problem we're facing is Spectrum does not have a line running parallel.
Please, one moment.
Sure.
Legal counsel, can we carry this to oral communications? It's not an item for closed session.
You've got two options. You can go ahead, you can have them wait to do it during the open session, or you can go ahead and just have them do it now, and then we'll note that it's for.
Then please go ahead and continue.
Sure.
For the allotted time remaining.
Sure, I appreciate it. There is no line going parallel to the railroad on D Street that runs parallel to D Street. And I think that we've spoken with Spectrum in the past, and the reason for that was because there was an active railroad, which I don't think it has been active for quite some time. I know you guys do not have the authority to put the hammer down on Spectrum. However, we've pursued our own methods here. They're going to charge us about $40,000 to run a cable across for them. I think the animal shelter is also affected by this, and all of the businesses that run along D Street. We've attempted to use AT&T and Oasis, and the problem is they have good internet, but the connection drops in the middle of sending these packets across. So consider Comcast, or if we could talk to them further. This is my request, and we appreciate you guys. Makes it very difficult to send mammography and get these things processed. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Noted that it will be carried over to the oral communications for the other meeting. Now we will go into City Council closed session.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Closed session this evening. We have two cases before you. The first is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D3, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, 3 cases in which facts are not yet known to potential plaintiffs. And the second is pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation, 3 cases.
Thank you. It is 5:33. We will go into closed session.
Mine's Thursday.
Thank you. Technical difficulties. It is 6:30. We will reconvene open session and report on reportable action taken in closed session.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Thank you. I will invite you to please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Wyrock. Remain standing for an invocation or moment of silence.
Thank you. Salute, pledge.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there anyone that would like to lead us in an invocation? If not, please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. Is Rafael Baez here? Please stand right there in front. Okay, it pleases me to make the announcement for the Employee of the Month, Rafael Baez. Rafael began his career with the City of Porterville on November 20th, 2006, as a Mechanic 2 in the Field Services Division of the Public Works Department. His job duties include maintenance and repair of light and heavy-duty trucks, transit, buses, fire engines, police cars, and other operations equipment. He also assists in the maintenance and repair of traffic signal lights throughout the city of Porterville. Rafael takes pride and gratification in assisting other departments with their equipment needs by ensuring that they are ready for use in their daily job duties. Rafael graduated from the Universal Technical Institute of Automotive and Diesel Technology and has attained several certificates pertaining to his field, including Detroit Diesel, Cummins Diesel, Caterpillar, Allison Transmission, and Freightliner Peterbilt. He has also received and maintained a Traffic Signal Field Tech 2 certificate through International Municipal Signal Association. Rafael is happily married to his wife of 25 years, and together they have 2 grown children, a son and daughter. Please join me in congratulating Rafael Baez as the Employee of the Month for March 2024. Okay, let's just do this.
Well, I'd like to thank my bosses, which are great to work for, and it's been a pleasure these 17 years, and I'd like to keep serving the city of Porterville. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Rafael. All right, we'll now go on into the Employee Service Awards, and we will begin with Vice Mayor Kelly Carrillo introducing.
Rachel Ginsberg. Rachel began her career with the City of Porterville on January 16th of 2019 with the Community Development Department. As a GIS supervisor, Rachel's job duties are managing and maintaining the GIS infrastructure, all data, data development, map products, and analysis. She also does special assignments supporting dispatch with the Porterville Police Department. Her most enjoyable part of the job is providing access to geospatial data more efficiently for her coworkers. Rachel has a 5-year-old daughter named Jordan and a 3-year-old son named Jacob. She enjoys collecting challenge coins and had one even made for GIS Day last November. Thank you for that. Rachel possesses a GISP certificate and is affiliated with the CGIA, California Geographic Information Association. She is also an active member in City of Porterville's Internal Wellness Committee. Rachel is a pleasure to work with, and it is great to have her as part of the community development team. Thank you for your continuing service to the City of Porterville, and congratulations.
She's looking. I'm giving her cues over here. Rachel, those are your lovely children? Congratulations. We will now move on to the next one. Councilmember Raymond Beltran, you will introduce.
This is the 5-year service award for Joshua Roman. Joshua Roman grew up in Visalia, where he attended Redwood High School. After attending high school, he served in the United States Marine Corps as a motor transport operator for 5 years. After his time in the military, Joshua made a career decision to enter law enforcement. In 2018, Joshua attended and graduated from the College of the Sequoias Police Academy. In February of 2019, he was hired by the Porterville Police Department. Since joining the Porterville Police Department, he has been assigned as a patrol officer, field training officer, special weapons and tactics SWAT operator, a detective in the Special Investigations Unit, and is currently assigned to the Narcotics Investigations Unit. During his time away from work, Joshua enjoys attending sporting events, working out, playing golf, traveling, spending time with his son, Noah, and family members and friends. Joshua is unable to attend tonight due to his current assignment, but extends his gratitude. Joshua thanks the City of Porterville, Porterville Police Department, and citizens of Porterville for allowing him to serve such an appreciative and supportive community and its members. Thank you for your continuing service to the City of Porterville, and congratulations.
We will now move on. Councilmember Don Wyrick will introduce.
Jacob Stark. 5 years of city service for Sergeant Jacob Stark. Sergeant Stark began his career with the Tulare County Sheriff's Office in April of 2015, where he was assigned the patrol unit out of the Porterville substation. While at the Sheriff's Office, Jacob held the assignments of field training officer and canine handler. In February 2019, Jacob joined the Porterville Police Department. During his tenure with the Porterville Police Department, he worked as a patrol officer, field training officer, member of the Special Weapons and Tactics, otherwise known as SWAT team, detective in the Special Investigations Unit, detective in the Tulare County High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force, and corporal in the Special Methods and Resources team. In 2022, Jacob was recognized as Officer of the Year by the Porterville Exchange Club. Jacob was promoted to the rank of sergeant on December 1st of 2023 and is currently assigned to the Special Investigations Unit. During his free time, Jacob enjoys spending time with his family, camping, hunting, and fishing. Jacob lives in the Visalia area with his wife Lindsay and 3 daughters, Delilah, Madeline, and Genevieve. Sergeant Stark, on behalf of the entire city and the City Council, we want to thank you for your continuing service to the City of Porterville, and congratulations on 5 years.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to thank, obviously, the city and the police department. They give me a lot of really good opportunities in the last 5 years. They let me do a lot of interesting stuff. And I look forward to the next 15, 20 years with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Councilmember Greg Meister introducing.
Erica Valdez. So Erica Valdez is not with us tonight, but we'll read on her behalf. Erica Valdez was born and raised in Visalia, where she graduated from Golden West High School in 2017. After she graduated high school, she attended the College of the Sequoias, where she played collegiate soccer. In 2018, Erica attended and graduated from College of the Sequoias Police Academy. In February of 2019, Erica was hired by the Porterville Police Department. Since joining the Porterville Police Department, she has been assigned as a patrol officer, a detective in the General Investigations Unit, and a detective in the Narcotics Investigation Unit, and is currently assigned to the Central Valley High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area Task Force. When she isn't working, Erica enjoys traveling, playing soccer, working out, and spending time with her twin 6-year-old daughters and other family. Erica is unable to attend tonight due to her current assignment, but extends her gratitude. She has always seen her role in law enforcement as more than just a job, but as a privilege to serve her community, where she tries to make it a better and safer place to live. Erica appreciates the support from command staff, city council, and all the members of the community. Thank you for your continued service to the city of Porterville, and congratulations.
It pleases me to introduce Lieutenant Bruce Sokoloff. Lieutenant Sokoloff was born in Los Angeles, California, and moved to the Porterville area with his family when he was 6 months old. Bruce attended schools in Porterville, graduating from Porterville High School in 1994 and attended Porterville College. Bruce has been married for 24 years, and he and his wife, Hanya, have 2 daughters, Emily and Jenna. In 1996, Bruce started a construction business, received a state of California contractor's license, and was self-employed until 2008. In 2009, Bruce was hired by the Porterville Police Department as a police trainee and attended Kern County Sheriff's Office Regional Training Academy. Upon graduation, Bruce began his law enforcement career and has had experience in patrol, field training officer, detective, officer in charge, sergeant, and lieutenant. Bruce was awarded the Porterville Police Department Officer of the Year in 2015. Bruce continued his formal education and holds a master's degree in business administration, in management, and Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice. Bruce has also attended numerous leadership courses throughout his career and is presently attending Command College, a 14-month program for law enforcement managers. Bruce is currently assigned as a lieutenant to the Investigations Division, and he is also the Special Weapons and Tactical Commander. During his time away from work, Bruce enjoys watching sports, traveling, and the beach. However, his greatest joy is his family, as he watches both his daughters mature into young ladies. Thank you for your continuing service to the city of Porterville, and congratulations.
Really humbling, standing up here and listening to the mayor talk about me. One thing I really feel, especially in law enforcement, to survive a career like this, it really takes a team effort. And if a person doesn't have that team, they're not going to succeed. And over the years of being here, we've had different people sit up here and in different leadership roles around here. But one thing that they've had in common was they supported law enforcement, and we really, truly appreciate that. So first of all, I'd like to express my gratitude and thank our city council, as far as our city manager and department heads here for their support to the police department. I would like to thank personally Chief Costello, Assistant Chief Bartow, Captain Manus, Captain Moore. I've gotten an opportunity to work for them over the 15 years in various assignments, and feel that I've only succeeded based on them training me and their development with me. And then the team at our Porterville Police Department, sworn and non-sworn, we rely on each other, and we're only as successful in providing our service to the community because we're a team. So I thank them for everything they've done for me. And then obviously, last but certainly not least, my wife. It takes a strong family support to be a police officer, to be on call, to work weekends and nights and holidays. But she's a great mom and a great wife that at times was probably a single mother when I was on duty and on call, and she did a wonderful job with our daughters. And then Emily's here, but Jenna's in Oregon. I didn't get to spend every time or every event with them, but I did everything here for them. And I'd like to thank them for their support and their love to me. And my wife's my biggest cheerleader. She thinks that I'm a superhero, even though I'm not. But, and I do look forward to continuing my career here in Porterville and serving my community for a few more years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How wonderful. We'll now move on into oral communications. This is the opportunity, what? Excuse me?
Bye-bye mattress.
Oh, a presentation, excuse me. It was on the other page. Okay, got it. Moving on, we'll have the presentation now. I apologize.
Good evening, Mayor Flores and honorable council members. I am trying to turn on my camera and set up my PowerPoints. But it's backed up with all the service recognition awards. My name is Jennifer Duran, and I'm the Central California Program Coordinator. And with me is Mark Patty, California Program Coordinator. And we're grateful to have a few minutes of your time to share a bit about our program. So we'd like to thank you all for taking the time to listen to us. And I also want to mention Supervisor Townsend and Councilmember Meister and the City of Porterville staff who have been so helpful in working with us and trying to bring this great resource to our residents in Porterville. So let me share my screen. Yes. Can everybody see the first slide, the title slide of California Mattress Recycling Program? Yes. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Oops. There we go. A little ahead of myself. So Mattress Recycling Council was created in response to SB 254, in case you haven't had any background on it, just mattress recycling specifically. And it was created in response to the SB 254, the Used Mattress Recovery and Recycling Act. And MRC, which is shortened for Mattress Recycling Council, is the entity that manages the mattress recycling programs in states that have legislation. In California, consumers will pay $10.50 at the time of purchase for a mattress. That's $10.50, and that is the recycling fee. that is described in the law. And this is what the fee provides. It fully funds our program, and it provides containers and trailers for collection sites and events, transportation of mattresses from collection sites to recyclers, our illegally dumped mattress collection initiative, outreach and education support, and research projects, funding needs, and sleep product sustainability program, and CalRecycle enforcement. I found that a lot of people are not aware of the fact that we do have oversight from CalRecycle. The objectives of NRC are to increase recycling and to curb illegal dumping and to operate cost effectively. So we're always trying to be good stewards of our recycling fee. We want to help municipalities mitigate illegal dumping, and obviously we want to increase recycling. So this is a snapshot of what our program looks like across the state right now. We've got 9 recycling facilities, more than 220 permanent collection sites. The green flags are the collection sites, and then the orangish flags are the recycling facilities that will receive the old mattresses, box springs, and futons. And the purple flags are collection events. We also work with retailers to support retailer take back and municipalities with their bulky curbside programs. So 96.5% of Californians live within 15 miles of the collection network, but we still have some gaps in areas that don't have convenient access. And convenient access is considered about 15 miles. So far, this has been our impact since our inception. 12 million mattresses have been recycled, and if you want a visual, that's a round trip from California to Hawaii if you weigh them end to end. That's 450 million pounds of material diverted from landfills, and over 83% of discards are diverted from landfills. So we're thinking every 100 mattresses, we've been able to recover just over 83 of them. So specifically here in Tulare County, we've got awesome coverage. If you look at the graphic on the right, these are all the collection sites that participate right now within the county. With the closure of Teapot Dome landfill a few years back, we had a gap in the Porterville area. So if you look here at the map, it would take about maybe 20 miles, 15 miles, more than 15 miles for sure to get to the next drop-off location for no cost. So we're really trying to create access for residents, because whether there's a collection facility or not, residents are always already paying into that the recycling fee when they purchase. So we would really like to create a collection point for them. Let's see, my mouse has moved. And the other benefit of having being part of our program is that we offer collection sites up to $10,000 of site improvement funding. So public drop-off locations are able to apply for this funding, and those sites apply for equipment or structures that would help increase safety or the viability of the recycling of the mattresses that are collected. So we have a lot of support for our collection sites, and we really look forward to working with the city of Porterville to help bring this resource to your community. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to see because I can't see anything else. I don't know where we are, but that is the main part of my presentation. This is our contact information, and if you have any questions or comments.
First of all, I want to say thank you for the information for council. It's good to see this information. Did anyone have any comment?
I want to thank you, Jennifer, for presenting the Bye Bye Mattress and bringing this to Porterville and Porterville staff. I get no credit on this. This goes to our city manager and supporting staff. You are the ones that made this happen, so I appreciate that. And then, I really think this is on the consent calendar tonight, and I think it's a good addition, being that the Teapot Dome dump has closed, and we have seen an increase of mattress dumping on the outskirts of town and within town. So this gives us an option in that, and hopefully it limits the amount of illegal dumping in our community. So thank you.
Councilmember Beltran, comment?
I just had a brief comment for staff. I know during the spring and fall cleanups, we do collect mattresses. Is this program utilized at that time, or okay?
So currently, we're using a similar program. It's not a financial compensation at this time. We've not worked through that. It's been in conjunction with CSET. But we have been filling up the last couple events where we've done this collection. We've filled up a semi or up to 2 semis full of mattresses as a result of those efforts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrock, any comment? Okay. Vice Mayor?
Just thank you for the information. I wasn't aware of this type of program. I think it's great for our city to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
All is appreciated, and once again, thank you. Okay. Now we'll move on to oral communications. This is the opportunity to address the council on any matter of interest, whether on the agenda or not. Please address all items not scheduled for public hearing at this time. Unless additional time is authorized by the council, all commentary shall be limited to 3 minutes. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record. We will continue to adhere to the 3-minute per speaker time period so that we can, in an orderly fashion, and decision-making with our responsibilities this evening. If you are here for the public hearing, item number 14, please hold your comment until then. When that item comes up on the agenda, you will be given the opportunity to speak and comment at that time. Is there anyone that would like to come up for oral communications?
Brock Neely, address on record. Fernando's got some stuff he's going to give you. The 2 items you're going to receive, one of them is a couple of spreadsheets. The first one is the registered voters in the city of Porterville, broken down by age and party affiliation. You'll notice that the majority of registered voters within the city limits of Porterville are in the 18 to 34-year-old age group. But when you look at the second page, which is the ballots returned, the return rate is abysmal. And we hear all these youngsters always talking about how they want things done and everything, and complaining about the old folks running everything. Here's their chance to change things, and they're not taking advantage of it. The second item you're receiving is the actual 2024 ballot tracker from PDI. The top page is Porterville, which is, this morning was at 10% turnout. Terrible. The second page is the statewide turnout, which is 18%. But the important information is on the back of each of those. And there again, you'll look at the age distribution. For the city of Porterville, the 18 to 34-year-old age group is 35% of the electorate. They're turning out at 8%. The 65 plus is 20% of the electorate, and they're turning out at 58%. That's why all the old folks are running everything. They're voting. Statewide, it's a pretty even distribution in all 4 of the age categories at 25%. The 65 plus is voting at 54%. 18 to 34-year-olds, there again, are at 8%. If you're younger and you want to change things, get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to come forward, please do so.
Good evening, Council. I'm Kathy Capone, President of the Tule River Parkway Association. I would like to compliment the city parks maintenance crews. I've found that in the last 3 months, I think maybe more than 3 months, the degree of completion of maintenance tasks along the Tule River has really improved. we've increased the amount of mowing and plowing under weeds and collection of garbage. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
Hi, I'm not a public speaker. My name is Lynette Savala, and you wanted my address, correct?
Please.
261 North Hillcrest Street in town. I have just not my thoughts gathered, but it's pertaining to item number 16 on the agenda, in the unauthorized and unsafe camping, and the proposal that you're getting ready to draft a city ordinance for that. Basically, speaking from the heart, these people that are homeless, sometimes for their own, comes from their own lack of whatever's happened to them in their life, trauma, loss of jobs, the economy's changing, all that. And as you consider your draft that you're going to be doing, we have to come under that SB, I think it's, here it is, with the state, they're addressing it to ban all of the homeless camping. SB 1011, which I'm sure you're more familiar with than I am, but these are sons, daughters, mothers, fathers. We don't know what the traumas and challenges that they face in life, but as you get ready to make this ordinance and draft it, could you please consider compassion? These people need hope, understanding. A lot of it's case by case. It's like the onion. There's so many layers. I've spoke to one of our council members about it, Mr. Meister, if I said that right. And he understands some things too. And I am not informed as I need to be, would like to be. It affects me personally as far as I have a child that's on the street. He's not a child, he's a man, he's 35. Through all the different things that have happened in his life, but he's not the only one. I spent some time down visiting with some of these people at the river, and I know that law enforcement goes out, you're trying to have public safety from themselves, people don't want them around. They're still all children of God. They still try to watch out for each other. Not all are thieves, not all are drug addicts. There's just a lot that goes into that. I'm probably approaching that 3 minutes. But please have compassion when you're considering that. It's mental health issues, it's substance abuse, it's hopelessness that they deal with. When they came out and removed them out by the A-frame bridge off of Newcomb Street recently, they were given some warning. Of course, they're never ready because they don't know how to cope with that, I think, of looking at it. Some were ready and could get out. One young lady was asked to have a bag, grab a bag. Well, she'd had a dog that had 8 pups in her bag. This is mental health. 2 puppies, the clothes on her back, everything was bulldozed and just bulldozed over, and everything went into the dumpster. I wish there was a way that you get them out of there before you take care of, or whoever's in charge of that, so they don't have to see that. It adds more trauma to them. She didn't say that. It's just my observation of being around and listening. But please have compassion. That's all I ask. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there someone else that would like to come forward? Please do so.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Scott Boer, Porterville Chamber Board Chair, and I would like to provide you with a few updates from the Chamber. We have our next quarterly membership orientation on March 7th at 12 p.m. This is an opportunity to come and learn about the membership benefits and the member website profiles. We will have our next business after hours meeting on March 14th at 5:30 with our sponsor, Burton School District. The mixer will be held at the Berkeley Center at 2440 West Henderson. We'll be we'll be holding focus group this month with our member to help determine our legislative priorities this year. We should have that ready for our next SCAC meeting on March 28th at noon. Our next First Friday Coffee will be on April 5th at 7 p.m. at Galaxy Theaters. Our sponsor is Reach Air Medical. We're looking forward to seeing you all there. Follow our social media accounts for our website blog to see our she-preneurs of our Porterville campaign during the month of March. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Then we will now move on to the reports. This is a time for all committee, commission, board reports, subcommittee reports, and staff informational items. Staff informational items.
Yes, Your Honor, we do have two informational reports this evening, the proclamation issuance report for February 2024, as well as the permanent local housing allocation 5-year plan amendment. And we're happy to answer any questions or present the staff reports.
Thank you. Council, do you have any questions? No questions? Nope, okay. We'll now move on to the consent calendar. Thank you for the information that was sent to us. Consent calendar, all consent calendar items are considered routine and will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these matters unless a request is made, in which time the item will be removed from the consent calendar. All items removed from the consent calendar will be placed under scheduled matters and will be heard at the end of scheduled matters. How does council wish to proceed? We have items 1 through 13.
I have a question for our city attorney. Is number 8 is an agreement that's not a conflict for me, correct?
I don't believe so on this one.
Because it's an agreement?
Right.
Okay.
Well, and it has to do with, it's funding for the transportation issue. I don't think it directly affects your finances.
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion then to approve items on the consent calendar 1 through 13.
We have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you. We'll now move on to the public hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have one public hearing before you this evening. It's the consideration of a tentative parcel map and conditional use permit, PRC number 21-2028-C, to authorize development of a convenience store, including an automobile service station and off-sale beer and wine licensing. And Ms. Calderon will be presenting this item.
Good evening, council. So this public hearing is to consider approving a tentative parcel map and a conditional use permit, subject to conditions of the approval. The applicant proposes to subdivide an existing parcel with APN number 243190018 into 4 parcels ranging from 0.86 acres to 3.94 acres for commercial development. At this time, the applicant has requested to continue the public hearing to the March 19, 2024 regularly scheduled city council meeting. So the recommendation is that city council open the public hearing to receive public comments and then continue it to the March 19, 2024 regularly scheduled city council meeting.
Thank you. Council, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. It is 7:08. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this item? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. It is 7:08, and we will continue to the public hearing to March the 19th. Then we will now move on to item number 15.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first scheduled matter before you this evening is the Porterville Veterans Homecoming Queen, Miss Porterville item. Since 1946, the city of Porterville has crowned a queen in her court to represent the veterans of the Porterville community. The first Veterans Homecoming Queen pageant started to honor Porterville's veterans in the aftermath of World War II. To show gratitude to those who sacrificed so much to keep our nation safe and free, the tradition continues each year on the last Saturday of October. The pageant gives high school senior girls the opportunity to express their patriotism, give back to their community, and be a role model to those around them. The young women in the pageant are judged in 5 categories: interview, essay, talent, poise, personality, and participation. The Queen and her court then participate in a variety of civic events throughout Porterville, including the annual Porterville Veterans Day Parade and Bandorama. The pageant is sponsored by the American Legion Post 20 of Porterville, the Veterans Homecoming Committee, and the Porterville Memorial District. At the request of the Veterans Homecoming Committee, Mayor Flores and city staff met on February 21st during which time the committee spoke of their interest in fostering a closer relationship and connection between the City of Porterville and the Miss Porterville pageant in light of its shared vision of promoting Porterville. In order to further this relationship, the concept of including Miss Porterville in the advertising campaigns for city events at which Miss Porterville is involved was discussed, as was coordinating the program's potential involvement in other city events. A tentative schedule of events for which the Queen and her court attend is provided for council's reference in the agenda packets. At this time, city staff recommends that the council consider the partnership with the Miss Porterville program. It could be with our advertising campaigns for city events, and also coordinating other potential involvement at other events that the city participates in. So at this time, the City Council, if you would please consider partnering with the Porterville Homecoming Queen Miss Porterville Pageant Program for promotion of Porterville. And I would like to add that staff, if the council would like to pursue this partnership, that we will ensure that the veterans, the Miss Porterville Pageant Program complies with all regulations and laws. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Staff report is very direct and to the point, and that is appreciated because we did meet with the committee and we did have staff present to this regard. I'm going to go ahead and make the motion. We go with the staff recommendation to partner and with all the rules and the regulations that they comply.
Just a quick question, if I may.
Someone who needs to second for a question.
I'll second.
We have a second question?
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for this partnership. I'm just wondering about the three sponsoring groups, the American Legion Post 20 of Porterville, the Veterans Homecoming Committee, and the Porterville Memorial District. Are these made up of individuals that have been on these committees for periods of time and, their status is profit, nonprofit? I just don't know enough about them. I'm just curious.
So they are here, and I'm certain they could address it better than I. But if the City Council did choose to proceed with this, staff would work with them to ensure that any nonprofit status was current.
I make a comment. The request was specific to be included in a partnership of just promoting the events and the homecoming queen, because the queen is Miss Porterville. And it's just so that we can help get people to the events. They're already participating in almost all of the City Porterville events. They will work directly with staff to make sure that the process runs in accordance.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a sponsorship. We wouldn't be joining these other
No.
three
The ask
organizations?
was not financial. The ask was more partnering because of
Yes.
the shared vision and the fact that the Queen is Miss Porterville.
Yeah.
And so it was really just a partnership to promote both. So they're already attending many of our city events, like the parades and some of the city-sponsored events. And so we felt as though, from staff's perspective, it made sense to partner. So we would be also promoting in our advertising that Miss Porterville will be in attendance. And so it's just more of an advertising partnership. It could venture into other things, but at this point, it is not financial.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
It's public relations.
If I may, Madam Mayor.
Please.
I just want to thank city staff and yourself and the Veterans Committee, Queen Committee, for bringing this forward. I think it's a great idea. And if we were to financially back in the future, I would be open for discussions in that, because this is one of those great faces of Porterville. They are very involved. All three of those committees are very involved in a lot of events in our community. So once again, I just want to thank you all for that.
Okay, once again, there was no financial ask, and it was a PR, public relations. Staff will work directly with the committee, and we will move forward. Any more discussion? We have a motion, we have a second. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you. Okay. We will now move on to item number 16.
Thank you, Your Honor. Item 16 is a consideration of draft ordinance regulating unsafe and unauthorized camping and storage of personal property, protecting critical infrastructure, and mitigating harm to the public, health, safety, and welfare, and consideration of administrative options to address homelessness within the city of Porterville. And again, this item will be tag-teamed with City Attorney Liu beginning.
Thank you, Ms. Hildreth, Mayor, members of the council. So at the study session on January 30th, the City Council reviewed the information provided by staff concerning potential regulations to regulate camping within the city and to protect critical infrastructure, and considered further development of resources to serve individuals experiencing homelessness in the city. Staff provided a preliminary assessment of critical infrastructure and facilities that should be protected, and provided draft maps and a list of public buildings and facilities to consider. From my angle, I provided additional regulatory examples and options for the purposes of providing guidance for the development of those regulations. At that session, the City Council considered the information and staff's input and provided direction on the development of an ordinance regulating camping and the protection of various public works and facilities. And as discussed, attached is a draft ordinance for further consideration. Staff requests the City Council provide comments with regard to this draft and consider scheduling a public hearing and consider first reading of the ordinance at a future meeting, and we can figure out what date that makes sense to do that. The draft itself would make it unlawful and a public nuisance for any person to camp on public property when there is available space for the person at a shelter location where that person is otherwise eligible and qualified to go. If there is no available shelter space, persons experiencing homelessness or who do not have a permanent residence are permitted to camp on certain public property, provided that the camping is occurring in compliance with certain time, place, and manner regulations. The proposed ordinance includes detailed location limitations, some specifically defined by ordinance, we're going to go over in a little bit, and then some that may be later determined by the city to be critical infrastructure. Generally, in this particular proposed ordinance, there's a restricted buffer designated of 200 feet. It varies a little bit, but in general, there is a buffer included for some of the facilities and properties. But the City Council may wish to consider establishing a different requirement or establishing that as a maximum area restriction with the ability to set all buffers by resolution. So we'll talk about that because that's not currently in there, but that's an option. For any areas or properties to be designated by resolution as critical infrastructure or otherwise restricted, distance requirements can also be set at that time. Essentially, we're recognizing that this may be fluid. We may have to figure out what works. It may take some time to figure out what is practically actually working, what allows for some public property, but still meets the needs of protecting critical infrastructure. And since we won't know until we see how it works, we might want to build some flexibility into the ordinance. So in addition to the location restrictions, camping is also proposed to only be allowed for a maximum of a period of 24 hours at any one location. There's also proposed manner restrictions, such as limiting the spatial footprint to 144 square feet, or otherwise a 12 by 12 space. 150-foot radius separation requirement between camps. Restrictions on open flames and fires, restrictions on excavations or the building of structures, and other proposed regulations to protect the public health and safety. The draft also contains a restriction on the number of individuals per camp, limiting it to 2 persons and 2 animals. And again, I will say this is just a proposal. This was, we based this on the Morro Bay regulations, and that was one of the things they had in theirs. The draft contains highlighted areas where the council members may wish to focus their attention and consideration. With regard to enforcement, as we also discussed, the draft ordinance proposes an emphasis on obtaining voluntary compliance. If voluntary compliance is not achieved, it's proposed that a 72-hour written notice be provided, and if there's still a refusal to comply or a failure to respond, the personal property can then be removed, but subject to storage requirements that are also specified in the ordinance. Shorter timeframes would be allowed due to a reasonable determination of a potential danger to human life or safety. The enforcement of the ordinance will require additional personnel and equipment for the police department and Parks and Leisure Services Department to effectively enforce the ordinance and clean up unauthorized camping locations. Staff will provide specific detail in the 2024 and 2025 budget discussions. This draft ordinance would also repeal and replace the city's current regulations concerning, quote, "water camps." Consequently, this draft includes restrictions on unlawful camping on private property, defined as camping without the property owner's consent, camping in a manner that violates applicable law, or in a manner that causes blight or a public nuisance. This ordinance would also, by the way, not supersede the city's ability to enforce trespass laws, which we have that ability. As we noted before, in the development of these regulations, designing specific locations where camping will be prohibited, the city is required to balance the constitutional rights of the individuals experiencing homelessness with the city's obligation to protect the public health and safety. The draft regulations have been developed so as not to restrict locations for camping in such a manner that individuals have no alternative places to go. The draft ordinance also includes specific findings substantiating determinations of public health and safety concerns related to the proposed restricted locations, and it identifies certain public health and safety dangers that are being addressed by these location restrictions, and also the time and manner restrictions. If the council approves the draft as presented or as otherwise modified tonight, staff would recommend that the city council authorize staff to set a public hearing for a specific future meeting for consideration and first reading of the ordinance. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, or staff can also chip in here and help. So,
I want to thank you very much for this report, because it's been brought back to us with lots of information all through the discussions and the processes. And I am one that am grateful with all the highlights, because it takes us right to it. Now I'm going to bring it to council, and I'm going to say, do you have any questions or any comments? I'm going to start at Councilmember Beltran.
I think so far I just had two, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, I read through the part of the areas and properties to be designated by resolution as critical infrastructure or otherwise restricted by distance requirements can also be set. Didn't we set most of that already in there? Because I saw like fire hydrants was like 25 feet.
we did, so you're
Yeah, I'm
right.
like,
So
what's-
some
what's
of them are
missing?
set explicit, and then there actually is a more detailed list of political infrastructure that the staff also included that would be adopted by resolution.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of a hybrid, and like we talked about it, I was trying to balance what do we know we're always going to protect, right? And so there are some things in here that we know that don't need to be by resolution.
So the ones that are specified, those are, and then the
Yeah.
ones that aren't, okay.
But what I would suggest, and this is the change I was kind of alluding to, is we have 200 feet in here. We really, truly, like we talked about, we don't want to end up in a situation where we encompass so much restriction that there are no realistic places, public places for somebody that's experiencing this to be. So one of the things I was thinking we could do is if you go to, in that middle of all that highlighted area on page 8 and 9, if you look at, it's section 1878, B, under the place restrictions, and if you go to 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, those all specify 200 feet.
Okay.
And so what I was actually thinking is maybe what we can do there's a couple different things we could do. We could set that as a max, but I don't even know if we want to do that, because I also know that there's state law out there that's going to set like a 500-foot potentially if it were to be adopted, which I don't know that it will. I think it's kind of casting a wide net, sort of a one-size-fits-all. I don't know that that's going to end up getting anywhere in the, but it might, and it may be amended. But there's some bigger, like for schools and open spaces, for example, if state were to pass that, that would be larger than what we've done. So I think, that's a requirement. They're right now, the way that language reads, it would be you are prohibited from being in those areas. So so if that, we'd have a problem, and I don't want to create problems by, so I'd rather build flexibility in. So what I was thinking is what we could do is, rather than mentioning 200 feet, we could specify for each of those that it's an additional defined boundary as set by resolution, and then we'll set that actually by resolution. So they're still named in here, but the area isn't necessarily named. So that would be one thing you could consider. But we're amenable to what the council wants to do. So
No, I think that's very reasonable in that. And the only other question I had was restricting the number of individuals per camp, limited it to 2 persons and 2 animals. I know we've ran into situations where sometimes there's minors. Would that be considered 2 adult persons, or are we, yeah.
And that
Okay.
I don't know. Honestly, that was in the Morro Bay one, and I left it just because when we talked, when I went back and listened, I didn't have clear direction to change it.
Okay.
But I am welcome to
That would be
open the
my
changes here on
recommendation,
this
is
part.
2 adult persons, because there may be 1 child or 2 children, but it would be 2 adult
Right.
persons.
2 adults, 2 animals, and whatever, and then we don't.
And whatever minors
Right.
is open, yeah.
So
That
we
was
will
all.
write it so it doesn't sound like we're also prohibiting minors, since I don't think we want to get in that area either.
Right, yeah. Or breaking up the family, because, yeah. That was all for now.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrock?
A lot of great work again. Thank you. Excuse me. As I looked through it, I was just curious, on page 1 of the ordinance, I think it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, whereas when adequate shelter is not reasonably available for persons involuntarily experiencing homelessness. So adequate shelter, and if we go back to that section on page 9 that you referenced, section 18.78, item number 9, it talks about the theater and the golf course. That would be right, but if we look right at 1878, that first paragraph, it is unlawful and a public nuisance for any person to camp on public property when there is available space for the person at a shelter location where the person is eligible and qualified to go, when there's no available shelter space, ... So is there I know we're going to try to keep everybody in a shelter space here in Porterville, but is there options for shelter space if we're full here that we would help them get to another facility outside of city limits?
Good question. I think there's intentional ambiguity in that
Okay.
section.
Because I'd like to
It's
find
going
all
to
the resources
depend on whether or not, I mean,
available to
right,
help.
I mean, we have to work through that. We don't know, we may have regional shelter, in the future, and I don't want to preclude that by saying it has to be in the city. Right now, it really isn't kind of an option, because we're talking about the city right now, right? So, but
Correct.
it's possible that there could be development later, and that way this would still be in good shape. What I would suggest, it's a great point, though, so in this ordinance, there's a provision for adopting administrative policies.
Yes.
And and I think that when we have interpretation questions, that's where we can kind of get those things pinpointed in the administrative policies. Like, for instance, right now, it may make sense to say we're talking about city. But if because obviously we also don't want a situation, we don't like it when there starts to be the situation where people are like, it's not fair to anyone when you start, I mean, even, not to mention those who are experiencing homelessness, to be trying to sort of, dump them. It's sort of like that situation with the hospital where hospitals were turning around and dumping their emergency, patients at other emergency rooms. That's not what we want. Porterville's never been that way. We're not going to engage in that. If anything we do is going to be a consensual and coordination issue regionally with our other public agency partners. I would imagine. I can't imagine that this council would want to do anything else other than that. But I think we also want to leave that door open if there are regional places where we can coordinate shelter that isn't necessarily in the city. So anyways, with that long-winded answer, I think that you're right, it's not clear, and we should clarify in a policy, but so that policy can fluidly change if the circumstances allow for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you for that. That helps me understand a little bit better. On page 5, it's under page 5, paragraph G. Just wondering about the wording on the second line. The city's goal is that people should not have to live outside and there should be safer options. How about the city's belief is that people should not have to live outside and there are safer options? I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Certainly can.
The item number I read this, and I just want to read this for the record. Smaller campsites, 12 foot by 12 foot, 200 feet spaced apart, 24 hours. Smaller campsites support both the health and safety of people who are camping for survival on public property, as well as the health and safety of the public and our staff. Mental health is real, and we heard comments this evening from the public about the stress that some people really go through when their life is disrupted, even for a simple thing, even walking down a sidewalk and seeing a crack and thinking they're going to step on it and break their mother's back, or whatever they might be so focused on. And when I read in here that it's going to be 12 by 12, 200 feet apart, 24 hours, and they have to move. 24 hours, and they have to move. But if we give them a warning, they can stay for 72 hours. So if they have to move from campsite A, 200 feet to campsite B, and they leave their stuff behind, and they get cited, but we can't remove their stuff, and then they have to go back to campsite A after leaving B after 24 hours. There's just a lot of jumping around, and I just would like to hear from the council if they have any thoughts on that. And then just moving on real quick, I like that it talks about critical infrastructure on page 6, such as hospitals. I think that's kind of inclusive of healthcare clinics and offices that provide medical services, those types of periphery businesses that support
I'm sorry, what
hospitals.
section was that? I was,
Section number D on page 6, critical infrastructure. Third from the bottom sentence, or third from the bottom line, it says government buildings such as fire stations, police stations, jails, or courthouses, hospitals, structures such as antennas and et cetera. So I was just wondering about healthcare facilities and different community programs that really support the needs of other less fortunate or other people that are in need. Just wouldn't want them to have to go through campsites to get some help for their family. And maybe that's in here somewhere else. I'm not just sure.
no, so actually, we could add it. I don't know, though, this just say it may include, may, but is not limited to, so we can, I mean, we can either, we don't have to put it in, but if you want it explicit, we can add it to the examples. There's no problem with that if you guys want.
Okay, and I really like the compassion on page 13. I don't know what section we are, but paragraph 1. You know, I'll just read it. When removing the camp facilities or individuals, camp materials or personal property from an established campsite, established over a period of 23 hours maybe, or 24 hours, enforcement personnel will make reasonable efforts to remove individuals without the use of force or citation, and I believe our department will be able to do that quite well. I do like, you mentioned it earlier, the adoption of administrative rules. I made a note here on section 1822. You know, there's a lot of homeless solutions that I'm sure the staff can adopt. So maybe over time, we'd be able to have a report from staff of how they're building the policy and procedures manual. And then just lastly, I really like you included in this information the flyer from San Diego that really helps to get the message out. Their camping ordinance, I think it's called an unsafe camping ordinance, but I like to think of it as a safe camping ordinance. We're trying to keep everybody safe. But some way to let people know that this is coming down the road. You know, the more we speak to it individually by different code enforcement personnel or whatever, it might take us longer to get the message out. So some type of campaign to go along with this ordinance, I think would be recommended from me anyway. So, Madam Mayor, that's the thoughts that I have on this
Thank you.
ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Meister.
Well, just seconding and thirding what's already been said. Great job. Thank you for updating this ordinance. I'm really pleased with a lot of it. For clarification, the 12 by 12, 200-foot spacing, that's for designated camp zones, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So something I was thinking of adding, you know, the state has made us adopt language like environmental justice to our city charter and master plans. So I was wondering if maybe we use some of that kind of terminology in this ordinance for like the poor areas, the poor communities along the river, that that are already historically low-income locations, and if we could use that kind of language to highlight another reason in addressing the encampments.
I'd have to look at it. I don't know.
I know, and
Maybe we're sticking
it's new
kinda to-
terminology, right? So I just
Yeah.
think of what they're adding, and it's supposed to be for the low income, and we're showing efforts to take care of our low income communities. So that was just a thought, kind of using their language against them to achieve our goals. So other than that, I mean, you guys hit some good bullet points. I'm really pleased. You know, there's a saying, injustice to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent. So we heard some talk about, you know, being cruel or having compassion, but we have to do what's for the greater good of our community. And this is really a health and safety issue, and it's gotten out of hand in the state of California, and I'm very pleased that this staff has taken actions to address it. So thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
I think, first of all, it's very thorough, and just, you know, I forgot some of the questions and thoughts that we had until you really started reading through it, and as I read it over the last 2 days. But I think so, for me, mostly, everything that I can think of is covered in here on some aspect. There's I guess one of the questions I was going to ask is, how much time do we have before, you know, to kind of still review and just put some real thought? I guess because it just seems, there's so many layers. I like that there's flexibility, because it's just going to be changing all the time. I think that's my biggest concern, is not that we don't have everything we need in here, but just as it changes, how do we adjust so that we could still take care of what we need to? That's my first kind of question,
Well,
I guess.
time-wise, it's up to the council. What I was thinking we'd propose is, rather than trying to push this hard to get this a public hearing and a first reading at the next meeting, that if the council is ready to move on this ordinance, to have it put together for a first reading public hearing, we could do that the first meeting in April, which would also give you some time. Because really, you have up until the moment you adopt the first reading to make changes. So that gives you, you know, at least another 30 days. And honestly, you don't have to you could always opt not to do the first reading and carry that over if you want to from moving, you know, so you have time. There's plenty of time.
Okay.
And you don't have to set a public hearing yet either if you really want to wait. But if you want to get the ball rolling on it so that we can kind of keep it moving, that would be my recommendation. So that gives you that additional cushion. And then we'll just flag when we need to notice it for a public hearing so that it can be heard. We can have a public hearing on it, which also, quite frankly, might shape some of you, the whole purpose of the public hearing is to hear from the
Yes.
public and see what they have to say about
Absolutely.
it. So that may shape some changes for you, right?
Yes.
So, and that would be fine. So really, I think that would be my recommendation, is to go ahead and get it set so that you can get that public input, because, you know, you guys could spend another few months on it, and then the public will come and have some potential suggestions or comments on it that you also want to consider. So, yeah. So does that answer your question on that?
Yes.
And then I think with regard to the flexibility, I think if my recommendation would be to go ahead and take, after kind of talking to staff too, and there were things that, especially when each department, they all have concerns about things that need to be protected. I mean, like, I'll give you an example with the refuse containers. We have real, true hazards and dangers associated with camping by the refuse containers. We've had actual injuries, right? We know that's not, and yet it happens because it's a convenience factor. So, we added that, right? We added the 200 buffer, but as we added that, it was yet one more thing that we've got 200 feet around, and we want to make sure that we're not, like I said, excluding areas. So that prompted me to kind of think, well, maybe we should actually set that distance that's specified in there by resolution, and that way we can scale it down or up if we, or up depending on what what we see. So, and that can be, it's like I said, it's easier to change by resolution than to go through the ordinance change process every time we want to change something. So that would be my recommendation. Like, if we add flexibility, then that'll give you guys the ability to reconsider more easily when you need to.
Okay. No, and I like that timeline. I don't want to drag this, I don't personally want to drag this on for months. I think that timeline is good, it's sufficient, and also to get the public's input. And then you also just answered another one of my questions. I didn't really know how to ask, but I guess it was how the city manager is going about getting the staff's input, the department's input, that they all deal with, this on some level. Not to micromanage at all, but just to ensure, how do you go about getting their input from the departments?
So we've been meeting with this item for the last several months. Staff, we meet every week, and we have discussed it at our staff meetings. We have ongoing meetings about this, so it's a regular conversation. It's yeah.
The ordinance got circulated.
We
to
all
the entire-
commented.
All departments, and every department.
We had
weighed in.
input,
I had the
it's gone
feeling
through all the
so, but I
departments.
wanted to, I could just kind of had a little note on, I should have asked you earlier when we met, but, I just started thinking about that because every time you go through a section, you could see the departments that it affects, and then the enforcement piece and all that, and then eventually costs.
Their fingerprints are literally in here. Like,
Okay.
I mean, every single one. I think I had comments from Claudia, Jason, Mike, and
Yes.
Donnie. There's even input from Donnie, from fire, from police, everybody.
Thank
Everybody's
you
in
all.
here.
I just think that's so valuable for us to hear that information. So if their fingerprints are in there, perfect. And then I was just thinking about, as the comments earlier, but also as we were reading through the staff report, the enforcement process, and it's included in there. But I think I was thinking more along the lines of what the lady brought up earlier about the notices and informing and education and things, and then also how Councilmember Wyrock brought up the San Diego notice, that format. I think we all talked about that last time. So that's kind of just a comment on that, and I don't really need a discussion on how will that happen. I think there's already kind of a process laid out there that's clear, and the city does really well at noticing, everything that we do and work on, including the changes in things like this. So I just kind of wanted to state that for the public, that will be taken care of and given great care to put this out for notice. I think my other, concern, there's not really an answer to it, but is the storage component. And I saw that, it talks about that on page 13, and it's 90 days or whatever's applicable by law. And that's a long time, and there's a lot of storage items. So I know that will probably be a challenge for the department that it says we'll be storing that. So there's no real way around that. I just guess
No, there's not. And actually, so we had some more specific language in there. Speaking of fingerprints, that was one of the areas that I think Mr. Moore was like, we better not, we need to sort of say that we're going to designate someplace because we don't know what we're going to need until we
Right.
see what we're going to need. So we'll have to, we know this is going to be work in progress, but the legal requirement is that anything of value, with a reasonable determination, needs to be stored for at least 90 days with notice, with we need to there's a cataloging process. So
Right.
that's where those administrative policies will really need to come into play.
Absolutely. And then safety, and I saw some language around that. And then I think that, there's a piece on working with agencies and nonprofits to kind of continue to provide services, the already services that are in place, administrative policies. I think we're really doing a great job of trying to include as much as possible. So I'm pretty pleased with it as I'm reading it. I just really, I know it's a challenge that we all have to deal with and that our city and our businesses and our residents have to deal with. But I also am concerned about the impact of all of this continued on the city and the departments also. So those were my concerns.
So if I may, along those lines, staff is looking to upstaff in certain departments to facilitate and implement this ordinance. And so we have been meeting and working with the most cost-effective yet efficient way to do that. And so we will be discussing this in budget development. We actually have our first budget meetings. Our workshop begins this week on Thursday. So staff is already working on next year's budget. So we will be coming forward with our plan. But yeah, we're looking at upstaffing in police department as well as Donnie's department for the abatement.
Thank you. I think that's very smart, and it's, thinking ahead and planning for things that, we have to take care of. And I think the ordinance is going to add to that, even though it's going to help us, it's going to add to those things. So, thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say how appreciative I am because we've had the discussion. I'm looking back, October 17th, December the 19th, January 30th, and each time we have been given an abundance of information to this regard. I am pleased with the draft that has been presented. I am grateful to the discussions that we've had here and have been brought to attention. One of the things that I'd like to say is, since I have been on council, staff has been very proactive and involved since 2016 on anything that has pertained to homelessness. And as far as noticing, that's one of the first things we learned going to meetings is the private property noticing, the public property noticing, and who's living in what area and where it delineates. There's always been sensitivity, always. There's always been the concern, the overall quality of life. Mental health is a concern. However, it's not just a homeless. You have people who have experienced homelessness because their property has either burned in a fire and there's no longer a place for them to live and they are homeless. There are also people who were affected by flooding and they had to find a location. So homelessness is everyone in the overall quality of life of all communities, and we have to look at each one. The concern with parents, couples, children. There's a homeless population also. You have students in the school district who are actually homeless and they are attending school every day. In all the committee meetings that we have attended, staff has always been there. It has been community development. It has been law enforcement, different representatives there. I have listened, and I'm going to echo that I don't have a problem with scheduling a public hearing to have public input with whatever changes deemed on a draft. It will still be a draft because the public can comment, and we can look and see and hear what they have to say. So where is it that we go from here?
Well, with what you can do, if it's the council's desire, is to make a motion to schedule a public hearing for, what is that first meeting in April? Lost my phone.
Let's do it on April 2nd, huh?
April 2nd, is that what it is?
After the 1st.
Yes, April 2nd.
Because conflict of interest forms are due.
Yes.
I
So,
agree with that. Will there be any looking into that language of
yeah,
environmental?
I'll take a look. I briefly looked at it, and I'll tell you, I don't, it's a little bit of an apples and oranges situation. It tends to be utilized for environmental regulations when you're dealing with racial injustice, so I don't know that we're going to be able to it may not work within this, but I'll take a look at it.
Okay, then,
Sorry, and that was literally my 30 seconds of research that I was doing.
okay.
But with that being said, if you'd like, I did make note of all the other comments. And
Okay,
of course, I'll
good.
listen to the meeting to make sure I catch everything. I'd ask that the council consider making a motion then to set the public hearing for April 2nd and a potential first reading of the ordinance.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All right, call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. Thank you very much. Now, we will move on to the next item of number 17.
Thank you, Your Honor. Number 17 is the status and review of local drought emergency. And as you know, back in 2015, the City Council declared a emergency due to the historic and persisting drought conditions throughout the state of California, and particularly in the Porterville area. But it is at this time that we believe that that declaration can be removed. The City of Porterville and the entire Central Valley experienced significant rainfall during the storm events of March 2023, making it the third wettest year since the late 1960s. With the impact of the annual precipitation received during 2023, the state of California is no longer identifying areas of significant drought. Additionally, the consolidations and capacity projects continue to be a priority for completion. The city is in the final stages of constructing the remaining capacity for the East Porterville consolidation with the equipping of well number 37, which was funded by the State Water Board. That is in the bid process and expected to be completed by March 2026. So with that, at this time, staff would request that the council consider shifting from the ongoing declaration of local emergency and allow for future updates to be provided to the council at the time of monthly conservation reports, and that you receive and review the declaration of local emergency and determine that the need no longer exists to continue the drought declaration. We're available for questions.
Thank you for your staff report. Does council have any questions? If there are no questions, how does council wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion to go with staff recommendations.
We have a motion. I'll make a second. Is there any further discussion? Let's call for the vote. It passes unanimous, 5-0. We'll now move on to the next one.
Thank you, Your Honor. The final scheduled matter this evening is a status and review of declaration of local flood emergency. And I am going to call on Director Knight to provide his weather update. He's our local weatherman.
It's the only job you can be wrong and still, continue to have a job. So, so there's a small storm still blowing in Monday, Tuesday, insignificant rain. The Army Corps of Engineers continues to provide a report, and happy to share that link with council if you'd like to have that. But it's a monitoring of the inflows and outflows of the reservoir. And so the operation still continues to be with concerns of runoff and rain events to match the inflow to the reservoir. So whatever's coming in is coming out, and that's the flows you see in the channel. But nothing significant to report for the next couple days. We're just anticipating some local rain with no flooding expected.
Thank you very much. Does council have any?
Of course.
Of course.
I was reading, and if you could correct me on it, 94% snowpack in our hills here locally. I know it's higher up north, but
Yeah, the real number that we reference is April 1st. So April 1st will be the next snowpack evaluation. And that was the projected estimate from the last storm. I know previous to that event, it was about 70% snowpack. So I would anticipate that to be accurate. But April 1st will be the telling tale of what we received through the winter months and what to anticipate for runoff in the upcoming season.
okay. And then what is the, I've seen the flow pickup there crossing over Highway 65. What are we at now? What's coming out of the dam?
Roughly about 300 CFS. So minor flows. We're seeing fluctuations when rain event hits, currently inflows somewhere between 300 and about 500 CFS. So the outflows staying pretty consistent, about 300 CFS.
I love that you say minor because, you know, you're willing to work with 11,000 cubic feet a
I'll
second.
take 8.
Thank you, Michael Knight.
No problem, thank you.
Any other comments from council?
Just curious, is there any work still being done down at the Tule River area? Because I know you guys had different levees and work being done to kind of help with the wall. What's the last time you guys were down there doing anything?
So currently, staff is not actively shoring anything up at this time because we're going through the process with FEMA on inspecting the damages. And that's been a lengthy process. We've defined a project to follow post-event that would make an effort to restore previous condition of the event, right, to the river channel. So currently, we've not been successful in getting that through approval with FEMA. They've made preliminary determinations that it's a natural waterway. So we are gathering documentation for engineered areas of the channel and trying to plead a case for those opportunities to get funding from FEMA. You will see staff down in the areas now where the berm was constructed off of River Springs. Although it was a saving grace at one time, now it's becoming a nuisance with weed abatement. So we're working to remove that berm, and it was anticipated that we would remove it in the upcoming months. We just wanted to get through the rainstorms to see what was going to be coming and what the runoff would look like. So those berms will be deconstructed and leveled out, and then we'll work through some of the repair mitigations at the Rio Vista playground facility as well.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Councilmember Wyrick? No? Vice Mayor? No? Okay, how does council wish to proceed?
I'll make the motion to accept staff recommendation and continue the status declaration of a local emergency and determine the need that it still exists.
I'll second.
We have a motion, we have a second. No further discussion. Call for the vote. Passes unanimous, 5-0. We'll now move on to the AB 1234 reports. This is the time for all AB 1234 reports required pursuant to Government Code 53232.3. Flag Day Committee. Councilmember Meister.
Well, we met today at Elks Lodge, 8 o'clock. I phoned in, talked about some of the major issues that we got to get in line. Theme of the Flag Day this year is Let It Wave. There's $3,258 in the bank. There was a little bit of talk of relocating the flagpole to Save Mart. I guess the owner of Save Mart, it used to be historically, Save Mart was in that parking lot. It's something they care about, but we decided to table it for discussion after we get through June 14th. So just something to bring up. It was interesting. Dennis Townsend will be the guest speaker or county supervisor. Nick Slayton will be singing the national anthem. And then we went through roundtable and something Chief Cogburn, this is his idea last year, and I brought it to the group, and they were good with it. And there's no guarantee, but I want to try to lock in jumpers with the flags and the smoke. If we could land that June 14th, I think that'd be a great addition, and that's Chief Cogburn's idea, and I'd like to bring it alive. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Tulare County Task Force on Homelessness. Claudia Calderon and I attended in person. There were no public comments. As you heard me report the last time that we were going to a strategy session and that Claudia and I had worked in submitting responses to 3 questions, and it was a little over an hour and a half to the 3-goal survey. At this meeting, the minutes of January 17th were sent to us separately, so they had not been placed on the agenda, and we were not able to take action. Since there was a very small number to survey responses, by the summary that I looked at, there were only 7 responses total from agencies. Now, this is a large homeless task force to only get back 7 responses, but we were one of the 7. We were provided with the meeting overview prior to starting, the presentations led to the first survey questions. However, the agencies were Kings Tulare Homeless Alliance, update on the HC2 strategies, homeless system mapping, Health and Human Services presentation, and behavioral health update, which led to the review and the discussion of the first goal. Here, we had already responded, and they brought back so that we can participate in something we had already completed. I'm really sorry to say here that there's really nothing for me to update or to provide except the disappointment of spending time going over the one goal and to walk it through with all the committee members that were present. This meeting, this strategy session, began at 1 o'clock. Claudia and I left at 4, and the committee was still working, discussing the one goal. I did contact the chair of the task force and express my disappointment. I wanted to know who decided that we would use this time to work on goals in lieu of a strategy session, because it was a survey that we were asked to complete and submit. I also stated that we worked hard to respond and that it wasn't easy. It was not a quick survey. As I had reviewed our responses to those that we were given, of the 7 responses, well, I noticed that one of our responses were not on the list, and I asked who determined not placing it, and I would like to know how that happened, because if you're completing something and you're submitting it, you would want to place it and be a response. So at this point, because I did reach out to the committee chair, I'm waiting for a response. The TCRTA, Tulare County Regional Transit Agency, Councilmember Wyrock.
Thank you. They met on February 21st at 4 p.m. at the Tulare Public Library in Tulare. We had a quorum at the Pledge of Allegiance, and there was no public comment. The next item on the agenda was a closed session item, but that they decided to move with complete agreement by the board to the end, a closed session item with anticipated litigation. Then we went on to the reports. We had an operations committee report out. We had a safety committee report out. Then we moved into presentations, which there were none. The consent calendar was approved, which was, it included the minutes of the January 29th meeting and the monthly ridership summary. We had a couple of, before I go any further, I want to go to my notes on some of these action items that we took. We had a item number 8A, which is a public hearing on microtransit pilot phase 2 services. Staff gave a report on the background. It's working with the city of Visalia, including some discussion about Traver and London. They did some report outs on the attendance at the transit centers, where they brought some information and some printed materials for the public to see. Talked a little bit about vehicle branding, and et cetera. A little bit on paratransit, the proposed commingling of the paratransit, microtransit hours for Porterville and Lindsay. The paratransit hours proposed is going to be Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sundays from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Dinuba and North County has different hours, and then Woodlake, of course. The Porterville-Lindsay on-demand zone will remain unchanged, and this is all spelled out in the meeting agenda items. The next item that we discussed was a report from Michelle Bowling, the finance manager. She distributed the preliminary financial statement as of December 31st, 2023. It provides July through December 23 revenues and expenses. It doesn't go into detail of what all the expenses were, just bigger bucket items, and not how each bucket went into different costs that were incurred and paid for. The reports, the spreadsheet, I asked for a copy of a spreadsheet that was provided there, which broke out some of the funding opportunities, the capital and operating grants and things, and I forwarded that to our city manager. Next item was item 8C, which is a resolution authorizing the TCRTA to have the ability to request to pay for mileage and meal reimbursement. So if board members want to take a trip and go somewhere, they can get reimbursed for mileage. There was provided on item number 8D, a grant management worksheet, which was very informative of all the different grants that they're applying for and the status of the funding and whether they're going to make the timeframes or not. And then finally, the last item was a vehicle asset worksheet. It was quite comprehensive, and it even included the items here at the South Yard here in Porterville. Excuse me, the age of some of the fleets, and you know, we discussed a little bit about needing to maybe get requests in to buy additional buses sooner rather than later because there's a big delay in providing, getting them off the assembly line and out on the routes. So with that, there was a couple of members of our staff that were present, so I'd like to invite Director Knight or Jason to share some thoughts that they have from the meeting. And then I'll wrap up with a little moment of time that I had with the board before they went into closed session.
Thank you, Councilmember Wyrock. As stated, Director Knight and myself did attend the board meeting. The board meeting was moved through, steadfastly. The director went through the items. Staff does have some questions, and we'll be meeting with the executive director tomorrow to go over those questions in regards to the financials and about the city's plans in transit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Nothing else to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I was dismissed for a closed session item, it was related to the city of Porterville, and I just shared kind of our history and the documents that we've submitted over time and the requests for information. I also acknowledged that some of the requests that they had for us for information were timely responded to, and I'm hoping that tomorrow the meeting goes well and that we get our questions answered and not just communicated a fourth time. So thank you. That's my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Tulare County Association of Governments, Assistant Managers, Jason Ridenauer and I attended the meeting. Councilmember Greg Meister, who's an alternate, was also in attendance. There were no public comments. The meeting went rapidly. Under the transportation consent calendar, the one action item was the adoption of resolution to approve the Transportation Development Act claims for the city of Visalia. And informational item was the implementation status of federally funded projects, unanimously approved. Under the transportation action discussion items, we were provided with a presentation by staff on the status of the Cross Valley Corridor implementation. There were no action items. The remainder items were informational, the status of state transportation improvement allocations, and the California Transportation Commission update, the ATP program Cycle 7 update 2023-24, the Unmet Transit Needs Outreach Campaign. With regard to the Caltrans monthly report, with regard to the roundabout for Porterville on Westwood, it was reported that it will go out to bid in June. Under the association consent calendar, all items were action items, the approval of the January 22nd, 2024 TCAG board meeting minutes and the minutes of January 18th, 2023 Technical Advisory Committee meeting, the adoption of resolutions for the Department of Housing and Community Development for the Regional Early Action Plan 2.0 funding distribution, reauthorization of Four Creeks to complete the Tule River Tribe Active Transportation Plan Phase 2, the approval of Amendment Number 5 to the fiscal year 2023-24 overall work plan, authorize the TCAG Executive Director to execute Amendment Number 1 to Agreement 2023-08 with ARUP US Inc. for professional services in transit planning and local clearinghouse review for Sausalito Elementary District. Those items were unanimously approved. With regard to the action discussion items, one action item, the nomination for the San Joaquin Valley Partnership. Submitted names were Supervisor Amy Shuckley and Supervisor Larry McCary and Councilmember Liz Nguyen. Update will follow. And a reminder that your Form 700s are due. And that concludes this report. The next meeting is scheduled for March the 18th. The Tulare County Economic Development, we met on February, we met on February the 28th. The minutes for January 2024 were unanimously approved with one revision correction. Jason Reidner, Claudia Calderon, and I attended in person. January financial reports were reviewed, accepted, and approved. Mr. Michael Yen of GW Rail, Janice, Wyoming. Wyoming is not aligned with the state of Wyoming. It was a presentation that had to do with rails and marketing. This information was sent to me, and we will send it out directly to the council members so that you will have access to the slideshow presentation and what he was reporting on. It had to do with rails and commodities and looking for properties and et cetera. Under the project and client services update, currently there are 31 active project files. It's through February the 20th. The most active projects are a recycling manufacturing company to expand into agricultural plastic in the Central Valley. They are seeking 20,000 square feet with 3 to 5 acres for outdoor storage. A non-biological carbon-neutral synthetic fuel manufacturing company wanting to expand into California. They are seeking a 20-year lease on 300,000 square feet production. They estimate 50 jobs will be created within the first 12 months of operation. A food waste manufacturing is looking for a manufacturing facility to create agricultural products from food materials collected in landfills. They want to expand into a regional area and would like a 25,000 square foot facility with a minimum of 10,000 square feet of outdoor space. They estimate 15 to 20 employees with the first 6 months. An agricultural company is seeking 25 to 100 acres of greenfield land to build a new greenhouse facility to produce leafy greens. I asked what leafy greens were. They said lettuce. Okay. They prefer flat land with a 15-mile proximity to California, the state California 99. They estimate 200 to 500 employees upon full operations. Staff updates that we got that morning was the update for the Economic Summit. We were told at the meeting that it was a sellout and that about 300 people would be in attendance. And that's all I'm going to say. Pre-summit, the VIP reception reminder, I didn't attend this year to meet with Chris Thornburg. That was the day before, and the summit was the next day. We got updates on SEDS and SURF. And that concludes the report. The next meeting is March 27th. And move right along. We'll now go on into oral communications. Is there anybody that would like to come forward on oral communications?
Brock Neely, address on record. I'd just like to let everybody know that Walmart has decided to lay off 331 million people. Yeah, they're removing their self-checkout, so they'll actually have employees doing the work now. The other thing is, I hope everybody voted. It's very vital to our country that people vote, and encourage any of your relatives or anything that if they didn't vote this election, make sure they vote in the general and vote down ballot. If you don't like the two on the top, vote down ballot, because those are even actually more important. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come up under other matters? Oral communications, I apologize. Is there any, please, go ahead. I was moving right along.
Kathy Capone, Tule River Parkway Association. This is a request to council. We have been working, that is the Tule River Parkway Association, in conjunction with the city of Porterville, on a restoration project on the Tule River between Maine and Plano. And this is in conjunction with the parkway being built in that section. And our work is it's plant communities of being installed, not gardens like we have in the other section, but it can only be done after the parkway is built. It's in conjunction with the building of that parkway section. And I've been frustrated in understanding when this is going to happen. I know there's been a variety of reasons that it's been delayed, but the grant that I obtained for this work, I've gotten them to stretch it, but I don't know how much farther I can stretch it until I can give some kind of assurance of the time frame that we can get the work done in.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Do we have anyone on virtually?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, now we'll go on into other matters. Councilmember Beltran.
I'm glad you stuck around. I was going to mention about the Tule River Parkway, the Arbor Day this Saturday. I plan to be out there with my son. I didn't register because I didn't know exactly how long I could be out there, but I plan to be there. And on that note, is there a way that we could, as a council, as a city, I'm not sure who the grant was through, if there's a way that we could have a supporting letter or something saying that we are working with them, and maybe that can help extend it a little bit longer, that you have a municipality supporting it and acknowledging that we were trying to work together. So if there's a way we can possibly do that, I'd like to, any grant funds are great to help. It was great to see the Employee Service Awards today. It's so great to see the talent that's surrounded in our community and supporting. Just really awesome to see that. The Porterville Veterans Homecoming Queen Committee here, I think that's just another addition to support youth in our community. I remember going to their, I don't know if you call it their talent show, I guess is what they do on the pageant. Sorry, I should say the pageant. It was my first time there. It was really, really amazing to see all those aspects that they asked them to speak, and their talent, and their family and the community there. It was really, really neat. So to see that continued partnership, it was really good to see. You know, the Bye Bye Mattress, the first presentation we got, I remember getting an email about this maybe like 6 months ago or maybe a little longer. And it's just one of those little details for the community to see that, you know, little problems that we see because of the dump closure on Teapot Dome. For whatever reasons, people aren't being responsible with their waste, household waste. But is there any way we can support, you know, whether it's through the county or city facilities, just to partner with that? It's great to see just this little glimpse of all the different services that we are trying to provide for the community. Simply on, I'll be, the Link Committee hasn't met since December. We'll have our meeting tomorrow. And I plan to bring them up to date on this no camping ordinance, and maybe get some feedback from them, their agencies, to see what communication really works for them that are out there communicating with those dealing with homelessness, to see if there's pamphlets, social media, even at the Link site, that just how to get the messaging out to them. So I'll be bringing that up in tomorrow's meeting. I saw a couple of different posts through the city websites, Porterville PD in particular, of police department escorting the Porterville High boys varsity soccer and Monache's girls basketball teams to their respective semifinal games. That was really cool to just, again, bring the youth and the community to just support them. That it's a real honor to reach those steps. I know they both fell short, but just to get there against these big schools and out of the area is really neat. Just that collaboration. So thank you, Chief Costello, for helping support that. Right, not the whole, no, I understand, not the whole way. But no, just no, it got, it got everybody's attention, and it was really, I saw a lot of people posting on social media, so it's just a great highlight for the community. And I came across an article for the Porterville School District. I thought it was really neat. I wanted to share these 3 students who participated in a regional state fair for the STEAM Expo. This is a science kind of fair. But these 3 students, Carter Christensen from Westfield, Azara Harani from Westfield, and lastly, Jaden Tang, were all recognized. But lastly, Jaden Tang was recognized he won the People's Choice Award for Best Presentation on Solar Power and Electricity. And he also won the Budding Young Scientist Award for Cricket Viability Test. And that just goes to our local kids, the talent, the education put their parents, the administrators, their teachers, support staff to pour into our kids and in our local community. So I just wanted to highlight those 3 students. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wyrock?
Thank you. Tonight we received a report from the Chief of Police, the Porterville Police Department Annual Report. And there's a section in here, a word from the chief, and I don't mean to embarrass you, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I will read 2 paragraphs or 2 sentences, if I may. The Porterville Police Department's continued goal is to make Porterville the safest city in California where people can live and play. We cannot achieve this goal alone. The police department needs the community's eyes, ears, and voice. And with that said, and with that written, together we can really continue making this city safe. And I applaud the efforts and some of the things that are provided in this report, the deliverables that you achieved, keeping the department safe and getting crime off our streets. Thank you to all of the staff. I had the honor to attend a Read Across America event at Bellevue Elementary School. And I think it was the funnest thing I've done in the last 25 years. I mean, these little kindergartners and first graders, I stood in the doorway and here I am, a stranger, and I had all their attention. And we just had fun. We just had fun. I got to read them a Dr. Seuss book, and they made sounds, and I made sounds, and we had fun, and we laughed a lot. And at the end, the teacher was very gracious. I didn't want to pass out the stickers and the little bookmarks for these kids. So I gave them to the teacher, excuse me, to give to the children whenever it's convenient for her. But that's our future. And these young people in our schools are so important. So you guys have heard me thank teachers before, the school boards before, and I just want to do it again. Keep up the good job. Keep educating the kids. Keep these little programs going like Read Across America. I think it makes a difference. The service awards tonight were really great. I've also talked about up here before on how this is a lifelong career path joining the city of Porterville. There's so many advancement opportunities, and even our current employees, they may feel that maybe they're in a little rut or stuck in a department. Well, just hang in there, and keep doing the best that you can for our city, for yourself, for your family, and eventually it'll come. Make it known. Maybe set a personal goal and develop yourself, learn some skills. Hearing that a grown man tonight who received a service award went back and got his master's degree after being a contractor for so many years just tells me that if we apply ourselves, we can do great things, not only for our families, but for the city. Looking forward to the Wall of Fame this Friday. I think it's going to be great to be a part of that. Looking forward to being there. I really like the recordings that the city does at different committee meetings. This week I watched the Transaction and Use Tax Oversight Committee talk about the expenditure of funds, and there were some reports out from different departments here on how those funds are spent. I'd like to thank John Hall, who I believe chairs that committee, and all of the members who serve on that committee to help us make sure that money is spent appropriately. I did read that we had a proclamation, I believe, for this being Red Cross Month. And I was just wondering, I know that we have this document, and I'm wondering how we can help promote all the things that Red Cross is involved in. Is there links, again, to our website, to their website of things they do in the community? Or, I don't know if they have things scheduled in the next month to bring awareness here. Does the staff have any information for us?
Well, I know there is something scheduled
Maybe I
this
missed
week
it.
with the Red Cross.
Okay.
Our very own Man of the Year is being recognized by the Red Cross in Fresno.
So Mr. Michael Knight will be named the Good Samaritan Hero of the Year for Red Cross in Fresno this Thursday. The executive director of the Red Cross reached out and asked that we would bring that proclamation to them on Thursday. So the mayor, I believe, will be in attendance, and Soshu, I imagine, will present that resolution.
Leaving that 4 so we can get there at 7.
I'm not sure
the
about your
morning.
math, but whatever you say, Mayor.
Everyone is invited to come with us.
Depends who's driving at 4 a.m. Yeah, there's nothing else. It's just an honor and privilege to be up here in front with such an esteemed group of people trying to make things happen and implement all the good work that the staff does. So thank you again for choosing me, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor, to serve on the council. And that's all I have.
And all the others that made that happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Meister.
Well, that was really nice, Don, and I think of some things staff say, we're all on the same team, and we may see different views on different issues, but ultimately, it's for the greater good of our constituents of Porterville, so I just second you, and I appreciate your words there. Question for you, Don, on TCTRA or Councilman Wyrock. What, did they give the rider share in that document that you got?
I'd have to go back and refer to that. There was some discussion, I don't remember if it was at this one or a previous one, about ridership staying about the same as the previous period that they reported. No big growth in ridership. I think there was an item. Let me look.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then, it reminded me of the TCAG meeting in talk of the Cross Valley Corridor, and they're seeing the presentation there, and it was disappointing in my opinion. It's not going to reach Porterville, and it's looking at just going to Exeter, what they presented at the time, and it's a 5 to 10 year outlook, and there was questions on ridership, and yet it was something that we couldn't get there either as far as an answer. And in talks of the future Measure R, I heard it referred to as Measure R 2.0, and we do use a lot of Measure R funds, and they do help our community. But, it disappoints me to hear language being used that we're not going to widen certain roads like Spruce because the cost is too much. But here we are on the southeastern side of the county, and we're all trapped to double lane roads leaving our area, and it's just disappointing. I wasn't happy with it. Something else that was talked about, Caltrans was projecting in September Highway 190 to be complete, depending on how this season goes. So that was, and great job to Madam Mayor on reporting on that. With the agenda tonight, agenda item number 2, 3, I love seeing our local business get jobs around here, and I know that's been the direction for a long time, long before I got here, but I just want to commend staff on hiring local. I appreciate that, and thank you. The mattress collection with Bye Bye Mattress, I think this is going to be a great asset to our city. I'm hope to see a decrease in illegal dumping as far as mattresses. We'll find out in the long run, but I appreciate staff getting that done. The statement of investment and policy agenda, number 13. I didn't want to pull it, so I figured I'd make comments now. I knew I didn't really have the votes if I wanted to pull it. So some things I liked, and I just want to bring to attention on record. Capital stock. The city will only invest in water shares from local water companies as they become available. I think this is huge. It's a direction we've already been taking, but putting it in writing is another step. Some of my concerns, and I actually thank staff for meeting with me, Councilman Wyrock. I felt like it was a really great meeting, learned a lot. Some of my questions, was why are we taking out mortgage-backed securities and changing the language to federal agencies, notes, and bonds, which actually is more protection for the city. It gives us the ability to invest in Ginnie Mae, Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, and these agencies are fully backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Another factor was talking about, bank failures. We saw a bank just last year fell up north, and so it's a concern in how we're protecting our assets with the city, the people's money. And something that's not common sense, but it sounds like it's a common practice the city's been doing a long time, and that's with the CDs. We don't invest, we invest $250,000 per account per bank. So we spread our money throughout multiple banks, and correct me if I'm wrong on that statement. So that's just great stuff, and letting the people know that your money is protected. I did bring up a conversation about investing in precious metals, minerals. It's not usually a direction that cities take. It is, to my opinion, that our dollar is weakening. There are governments around the world that are changing their direction and how they're spending money. We now are seeing for the first time in our lives, and that's everybody in this room, the petrodollar being bought other than the American dollar. So personally, I think a good investment and a hedge against inflation is investing into maybe gold or silver, but that is for another time. And so I just thank staff for giving me that time. And then I owe an apology to our police department chief. I did not make the pizza with a cop. My daughter had a softball game that night in Selma, and obviously by my actions, you know where my priorities are. So I apologize for that. I did want to attend. I was looking forward to having a beer with you, and it just came up short. I also attended Read Across America Friday the 1st at Bellevue, and it truly is a special thing, right? I read to a second grade class and had all the questions and the interaction, and it was a lot of fun. I read Dr. Seuss' Green Eggs and Ham. I love that book because, especially for the kids, and what I try to relay to my kids and reading it to them, it's okay to try things, right? You never know, right? So the Green Eggs and Ham, and then a lot of people miss Sam I Am. He never gives up. He never quits. And so you got to relay that to the kids. If persistence, pressure, and time, you will win. So that was a great honor. And then, of course, Porterville Wall of Fame. I mean, look at the list of honorees. Once again, just great honor to be part of this dais, this body. Great honor to serve this community, and really looking forward to Friday and inducting our Wall of Fame honorees. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
I'll be short. Just want to thank Julia for all the work that you did on that ordinance. Thank you for being so thorough on that. I think it gives us a lot to work with, and the staff too, for all the input. That's important. That's very important. Yeah, thank you for that. I think it makes our jobs a lot easier to go through that. And then, thank you, Kathy Capone, for the comments that you made earlier. I think that's really important, the work that's being done on the Parkway area, just, to keep the gardens and the path clean and beautiful so that families can use that area. I've been really trying to promote it to get people to have access to a place to be out and about. I know that walking is important to a lot of people. And then I'm appreciative that the staff is making time to go meet directly with the executive director for TCRTA. I just think that discussion needs to happen on behalf of the city, and we need to get some clear and accurate information and discussion put out there firsthand. So thank you for making the time so we can move forward. And then I just want to acknowledge the really good items that we don't discuss, but it's because we're trying to just conduct business. There's a lot of good items that were approved on consent. The technology upgrade for the EOC, the Santa Fe Byway Project mattress program, and then just discussing again and promoting the Arbor Day event for our families. Thank you, Chief, for the report. It had a lot of data. I couldn't stop reading it just because I think it's so helpful. It gives a quick glimpse into just all the work that's been done, and just seeing how many, arrests and how much drugs were taken off the street, how many accidents, and just the graphs of all the work that's being done. So thank you for that. And then lastly, just looking forward to Friday as well. The Wall of Fame and hearing about all the different awardees.
Thank you. The month of March is Women's History Month, and I want to take the opportunity to thank all women and their dedications to their work and their home life. I think women should be celebrated every day, not just the month, but every day, and go beyond. And to those who are employed here by the city of Porterville, your work does not go unnoticed. And thank you for all you do, because you are supported by your families. And that's really important, so I want to say thank you. And as we continue the celebrations, this is Claudia Calderon's birthday month. Happy birthday to you all month long. And
I do celebrate all month, so it
okay,
started on the 1st.
we're not gonna. It's not date specific. It's all month long. Okay, and with regard to the Tulare County Economic Development Summit that several of us attended, this is one that I've always encouraged council members to attend. Thank you, Councilmember Wyrock, for being there, and for the council members that were not able to be there. Information was brought back to you and put in your boxes, and the link of the whole presentation was sent directly to you. I know that Fernando has had a request over the years that perhaps all of us should go electronically so that we can, up here on the dais, so that we can go into this portal, this website, so that once we're taking action, it doesn't go up there, it just gets put on the screen and everything. Does that program that you're hoping for one day actually transcribe for you, the minutes and everything?
It does help with it.
Oh.
So that is a plus, but it is something that we do have.
That's on his wish list. That's a wish list, not nothing, a wish list. But that's been a wish list. That's been a wish list for a long time. Oh, okay. With all of that being said, Mr. Knight, it's like the whole month of March, last year at this time, it was when we were dealing with the floods, and I want to thank you and your department and everything, because everyone was being helpful. That included the public safety staff that was helping with all of that, but there was that emergency operations center that was placed, and the police and the fire department and even the IT department were very instrumental to all of this. So I will always be grateful that everyone who participated, everyone is still here, and it's a different window, a different aspect, that I believe the city of Porterville, because of all the work that you did last year, placed us and positioned us better for this rainfall that we just received than other cities. So thank you for all of that. But that includes everyone, because it was a nonstop situation, and there were a lot of sleepless nights for several of you. And Patrice.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just wanted to remind the council, those that are members on the Cannabis Ad Hoc Committee, we will be meeting tomorrow, as will the General Plan Committee. And then we'll see you all at the Wall of Fame, and thank you so much for your service to our community.
All right, and I would like to present this to the city of Porterville. It's from the Tulare County Economic Development for the participation. We received it the other day, but I'm going to hand it to Fernando because he's going to find a place for it for a department, right? Okay, it is 8:40. Julia 1.